All right, here we go. Quiet on the set. Wicker and Leon, be quiet. Here we are, the Stone Roadie Show with Kathy GODSEY. Take one. Action.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Stone Roadie Show. My name is Kathy Godsey, and I am serving as the co-host today for the Vacation in Griff Martin. I was on the show last week. I was invited on the show to talk about my experience with going to Alan Collins's house and meeting my idol when I was 19 years old. And as a result of my appearance and all of the interest in Alan, we've decided to do a show in which we all about Alan, in which we answer a lot of questions and things that people have been asking about Alan and his life and what he did in his spare time. So this is what we're doing today. So as Alan would say, looky here, and here's Craig Reed.
Hey there, my friends out there in fake book land. I'd kind of like to start out this show and kind of acknowledge some of the people that have been so nice and been given comments about the Stone Roadie Show and how they've enjoyed it and everything. And I can do is try to do this. I'm you guys on Facebook, and I'm kind of directing this at my fake book fans, because without you guys, I wouldn't be doing this at all. You guys, I was in those books and stuff, and people go, "Who's this Craig Reed guy?" And I got on here, and then all of a sudden, people was calling me the most famous roadie ever, so I just rolled with it. And then as people was wanting to do me to do podcasts, so I got some of this equipment to do it, and then they kind of fizzled out. So Griff Martin, he just said, let me get on there and just ask people questions. People are always asking questions because I know you, and they said, ask him this or that. So we just, do a little thing, and we started it out just basically for fake book, and then it rolled over into YouTube. But I just kind of really do these things for my fake book fans, but I guess that's rolling over into YouTube. But that's not showing up in any aspect on the subscribe, like, and subscribe scenario. We've only got about 500 or 600 subscribers, and I got all these people thanking me for doing this, and hit like and subscribe if you like it so much. But yeah, I just appreciate all the support y'all have been giving me and Griff. And like I said, Kathy, we had Kathy on last week, and people were saying, "Oh, she's so pretty. Why didn't you let her talk a little bit more?" And it was like me and Jean were talking, and Kathy told her story. So I just said, she's awful pretty. I'd like to have her on again anyway. So I said, yeah, hey Kathy, let's do another show about Alan Collins, since Griff is on vacation. So yeah, we decided to put something together and just talk about Alan. And the other day, I put up, hey, me and Kathy are going to do this show about Alan, and why don't you write in some questions? So there's quite a few people that ask questions, and a lot of them had to do with Kathy, Alan's deceased wife, and when Kathy, uh, Kathy Godsey, went to Alan's house. She's became quite almost famous around her area, because yeah, that's the woman that actually went to Alan's house, and it's really kind of funny, that well, it's like me. I'm like supposed to be famous because I knew the band. And I was a roadie for him, and it's certainly because I wasn't a professional roadie. But I had a lot of fun being a roadie. But it's kind of funny that I'm supposed to be the most famous roadie ever, and I was far from being professional. I had a pretty good time doing it. I guess maybe that's why I'm famous. I don't know, but But anyways, enough jibber jabber. And Kathy, is there any kind of questions that might concern your first visit with Alan, and how he was at home? People wanted to ask at how Alan's home life was when Kathy was alive, and how it changed when after Kathy died. So you have any kind of things to interject into what they're asking about?
Yeah, so what I talked about last week was how I met Alan Collins at the age of 18. I had been just such a fan of his when I started listening to Lynyrd Skynyrd, which was right when the One More from the Road album came out. I started listening to them, and I just became just infatuated with the band, the music, but especially Alan Collins. So as I had mentioned last week, I was determined to meet him. I knew that I was going to do anything that I could to meet Alan. So I was able to contact Lynyrd Skynyrd and then Gene Odom. And then Gene actually brought me to Alan Collins's house in May 28th, 1980. My friend and I went on a vacation. We drove up to Jacksonville and we met up with Gene, and he took us there. I'll never forget that day. As we walked up to his driveway, I noticed he had a car in the garage. Turns out it was Ronnie's old Mercedes, a 1953 Mercedes, I think it was. But as we walked through the garage to go into his home, I couldn't believe it. I was 18 years old, and my friend said, Kathy, just, take it easy. Don't pass out or do anything dumb. So when I walked in his den, he was standing there in front of me, and I couldn't believe it. Sat down, we visited for a little bit. He was just so cool. The environment was not that of a typical rock star. He was barefoot. He sat in a chair. Actually, Kathy was there. His wife, Kathy, was there. She didn't come out to say hi to us. I guess she was so comfortable with having, company over. She was just walking around doing housework or house chores or whatever. So she didn't say hi to us, which was perfectly fine. His little daughter, Allison, she was wearing a bathing suit. She came in and she was crying because she had cut her finger. So I said, hey, let's, take care of it. I'll bring her to the bathroom. I washed it, put a Band-Aid on it. And Gene Odom's kids were with us, and his kids were running around playing with Alan's kids. It was just like a normal setting. There was nothing going on. Alan wasn't smoking. He wasn't drinking. His guitars were there. He had albums on the floor, gold albums all over, but it was just a normal thing. There was nothing special going on. It wasn't like the rock star thing that you would think. He was very nice. He looked at a photo album, like a little scrapbook that I had made. I mean, I was so dorky. I was 18. I had braces on my teeth. I just looked so dorky. But he looked at my album, and then he signed a picture for me. And then I said, can I take a couple of pictures? And I had this little 110 camera, and I still have the camera actually. And when I went to take the picture, the shutter was closed, and I said, oh, sorry. And he said, hurry up while I still say yes. So but he allowed me to take the pictures, and it was just so cool. It was so cool. I wouldn't have expected anything different from Alan Collins, because he was just so unpretentious and so nice. And we stayed there for a little bit, and then we left. And when we left there, I had to process all of that, because I couldn't believe it. I thought I was in shock to have met him. That's all I wanted to do was meet Alan Collins. But it was just very normal, nothing out of the ordinary. Somebody had asked a question, forget her name, Sherry, I think, asked a question about his wife. And like I said, she just looked normal lady, very pretty. And she was just doing her own thing, nothing special going on. There was a bicycle outside in front of their home. The garage door was open, cars in the garage. It was just nothing special. But it was such a special day, and Alan is a very special person, and I will always remember that day. So I thought I was really, Craig and I talked about how many people wrote in and asked questions to know more about Alan. So that's what we're here to do today. We're here to answer some of the questions that are being asked about him all the time.
Yeah, cool. God almighty, I was just gonna ask you something. But, I saw on, somebody commented about Kathy, um,
Yeah,
um, being the doctor had told her to kind of, um, take it easy, I guess, during her
yeah,
pregnancy, and then she went to the doctor, and the doctor kinda said, you're doing pretty good. Why don't you, get out of the house and take the kids to the movie, So she did, and that's when she had complications with her pregnancy, and went into the bathroom,
yeah.
and kind of that's where she died. And yeah, I still remember being with Rossington Collins, and getting the word that she had died, and Alan was on stage, and I had to watch him go through all that. I never got choked up like this before. Oh boy, yeah, it was bad. Alan come off the stage, and we put him in a limo, and they wanted me to stay with him, and I said, "Wow, this is weird." No, I said, "No, I need to stay here because we're going home." And I told Mike Sparks to go, and so they got on the plane, and Alan was still all jacked up about the show, and just and they got to the airport, and Alan got on the plane, and he kind of says, "What's going on?" And then they told me.
Mm.
So I don't know why I'm getting all choked up about this, but so yeah, so then we went home for a little bit. But yeah, Brandon Campbell asked about um Alan's guitar, the Stratocaster that he gave away to Billy Fender. And then Alan, it was his favorite guitar, and he kind of wanted it back. So I kind of had asked Billy. I said, Alan's awful generous, and he kind of gave you that guitar because he felt bad because you needed a guitar and you didn't have a guitar. But that was kind of his favorite guitar. Do you mind if you kind of give it back to him, and he'll give you another one? So that's kind of what happened. But yeah, I saw Brandon Campbell. I don't know how you even knew that story, but then I guess you went and built um, a guitar to copy that one. And yeah, I actually did too. I when I was building Survivor guitars, I actually built a Blackie. And but what other questions do we have, Kathy? You have anything?
Yeah, well, somebody asked what was a typical day like with Alan before the plane crash? And I know you knew
Well,
him. You joined,
yeah,
started working, right?
before the crash, when we would get together, it was more or less a family type situation when with him and Kathy and Amy and Allison, and then I was married to my wife Sue, and then Chad, my son, and Chad and Amy were pretty close in age. So, I would take them. I took them roller skating, and they would stay at each other houses. But it was kind of like a family scenario
Mhm.
with Alan before she died, and then after she died, he was totally different person. He just
Yeah.
kind of lost the will to live. Really, it seemed like he just resorted to drugs and alcohol, and that whole Rossington Collins thing just kind of was
Yeah.
kind of a lot of drugs and alcohol. And I mean, and then Gary got tired of the whole situation, and him and Dale took off and went to Wyoming. They couldn't deal with that anymore, and then Gary left, and it was just me and Alan basically hanging around all the time, and we became very close after that. And then they did the Rossington, the Alan Collins band thing, and that was kind of drug infested.
Yeah,
You know, it's
that's
not
that's what I've
funny
heard.
because it was Alan was just he just you know, and it was that way until he died. I mean, and even when he was in the wheelchair, he was sucking booze out of a bottle with a straw, and doing a bunch of pills and shooting them up. It was, and I think I don't want to speculate on what happened to his death, but I think he kind of, I don't know, I don't want to say more about that, but
Well,
yeah,
I noticed that too. I'm sorry. I just noticed that too. I mean, when I saw them, it was May of 1980. They were just preparing to start touring as Rossington Collins. He was so happy. And I saw them at the Garden State Art Center, Holmdel, New Jersey. I think it was June of 1980. He had a smile on his face. He was so happy to be back on tour. And really, it seemed, he was just joyous, and everything about him was just, he just seemed so happy to be back out there. But I saw them after Kathy passed. I saw them many times, and he just wasn't the same. His eyes were sad. He didn't smile the same. Each time I saw the band, I just noticed a decline in Alan's physical appearance. And just as you said, I don't think he cared. I don't think it was the same. He lost the will to live, from what I can see after losing his wife. It's very, very sad.
but yeah, I don't have a list of all the questions. I only had a couple by memory. Could you have access to your any of those?
Yeah, well,
Yeah,
one of the things people asked was, did Alan ever smoke cigarettes while he's playing? Because I know Gary always had a cigarette. Gary was able to smoke a cigarette with his left hand and hold it between his fingers, and he seemed to do that very frequently. But in pictures of Alan performing, I never saw him hold a cigarette yet. But then in pictures of him not performing, he always had a cigarette in his hand or something else. So do you know whether he smoked while he was playing the
no,
guitar?
I always lit cigarettes for him in between songs, so they didn't have to worry about lighting cigarettes. So that when I first started, that's what I started doing, putting an ashtray up there and just lighting a cigarette and sticking it in the ashtray. You know, if they want, you know, because they go back there and they'd have to pick up a cigarette and they'd have to get a lighter, and it just took a long time. So I just set them out there, and they'd smoke them if they wanted. But no, Alan would come back and keep a couple hits and just put it back in the ashtray, while he was back there taking a drink and taking a, hit up.
So you were also telling me, I've been talking to you over the past couple of weeks. Craig and I have become friends on Facebook, and we've been talking about a lot of things that I observed or knew about Alan, and he answered a lot of questions. Craig said something interesting. He said that Alan used to just throw, when he was on stage, he would just throw his guitar over to Craig, and Craig always caught it, right? With one hand, never drop one of those precious guitars.
No, that Explorer, yeah, he'd throw it at me, and I just freaked out. He threw it at Chad one time. Chad caught it. He wasn't probably 14 or 15, and Alan threw him that guitar, and it hit him in the chest and the mouth. He just wrapped his arms around it and busted him in the mouth, I think. Freaked him out. I guess he thought I was throwing it at me, and I wasn't looking. He threw it at Chad or whatever. I don't know. Yeah, he is wild, man. Yeah.
During the Rossington Collins band, he started wearing this hat. Somebody asked about when Alan started wearing hats. I know that during the Tokyo tour, he was wearing some kind of a red hat. But then during the Rossington Collins band, he was wearing like a Robin Hood hat with a feather on it. And he used to wear like a long white, it looked like a lab coat. And what I know he did was a lot. He would bend down and like use his guitar as if it was a machine gun and aim it at the audience. And everybody always got a kick over that. Do you know why he did that, or what was the?
That was basically when we would open up for bands, and the guitar player from the headlining band would come in there, because Alan, when he walked into the building, he walked in there, he said, like, I'm the baddest MFer in this whole building, you know, there's no question, you know. So when he was out there playing and the headlining guitar player would come out, yeah, he would just play and then he would machine gun him like this, you know.
Yeah.
And then when they would fit playing in between songs, Alan would do the Tarzan lick. He would do like I'm the king of the jungle, you know. Yeah, that was
Yeah.
really funny. Yeah.
I wish that was captured on video somewhere. I've never seen him do the Tarzan lick.
Yeah, that would be, yeah, that was really pretty cool. I can always vision that if they'd ever do a Lynyrd Skynyrd movie of them having somebody, you know, emulate those moves, you know, it'd really be cool, you know, that machine gun thing. And then the Tarzan lick, that was great, you know. Yeah, you love that.
One of the
But
things I mentioned to you that I just love about Alan Collins is that I can always pick him out his guitar. When I listen to a song, he has a very distinct style. He's got just something about his guitar, his playing, that I can always say, there's Alan. It's very, very distinct, but it's so different than Gary. And those two play together so well. I mean, they every time they played a song, it was note for note exactly the same. But something about Alan's style, he had a really special tone about it. And I don't think anybody can ever replicate his talent. The other thing, so I was asking you about when Alan got his first guitar, and if he ever took any lessons and how he learned guitar. And you had said that they never took any lessons, right?
no, they no the Leon is, you know, well, Billy was a trained classical pianist, but I guess Leon went to a guitar lesson one time or whatever, and then he went home and his mom asked him how it went. He goes, that guy don't know nothing. I know more than he does, you
Yeah,
know.
yeah.
But from what I understand, Alan didn't get a guitar till he was 13 or 14, you know. It's kind of, a lot of people start before that. And from what I understand, Gary and Alan um kind of learned how to play off each other,
Yeah.
which is really kind of weird because they're totally different guitar players, you know. Alan's, Gary's just kind of got that laid back kind of,
Hmm.
feedbacky kind of just melodic thing, and Alan's just just crazy, I mean, he just, it just their styles are so different. Of course, so was Steve's. Steve's
Yeah.
was totally different than Alan, and Ed was totally different than any of those. It's just crazy how all those people got together with all those different styles, and each one of them was just, you know, so different and so great, and they all got together and made it all work. It was,
They
you know.
certainly did. They certainly
But
did.
we were talking before about, well, when we were sitting here talking, on Zoom, and I was trying to get this figured out because Griff always does the editing and stuff and starts. I didn't even know how to start recording on here, so
We're
we
not
finally got it
professionals.
figured out. So we're getting a little bit of a late start here because I didn't know what the heck I was doing. Griff asked me if I knew what I was doing, and I said no, but I think I can figure it out. But it took a little longer than I thought it was going to.
And if
I
anybody
still don't know
notices,
how to download this to YouTube and Facebook yet either.
yeah.
Griff left me that video the other day to put on while he was starting his vacation. I put up Wednesday, or well, I tried to put up Wednesday, but I didn't make it till Thursday. I couldn't get it to load. I don't know why, but
And when you asked me to do this show, I told you there were going to be a lot of live animals in the show. So you have your two dogs. And as anybody can see, I do like cats. I live in New Jersey. I love animals, especially cats, and they're coming in and out. But that's Craig said, don't worry about it. That's cool. Let them do their thing. Don't lock up the cats. We're not
No,
professional at all. I'm a teacher, so this is not something I usually do, but I'm having a great time. And Craig is so cool. I just met him a couple of weeks ago on Facebook, but when my friend requested him, I was so shocked that he answered, and I was like, "Wow, you're Craig Reed. I've heard so much about you." And it's just so fun for you and I have talked for hours, really, and just it's been such a long time, since Lynyrd Skynyrd, since Lynyrd Skynyrd, Ronnie Van Zant, 45 years. But for some reason, this band is legendary. People always want to know. They're so classic and they're legendary, and I think they'll be around forever, hopefully. But you were just mentioning how, it was just so people would have a tattoo on their arms of Ronnie, and they'll always remember him. And there's something special about this band that no one else can match. And that's why I love them and I'll always love them. And I always consider the day that I was able to go to Alan's house and meet him. I'll never forget that day. I really think that was very blessed to have that experience, to be there. And
yeah,
Craig, having known them for such a long time and knowing Alan so closely, you could really answer any questions. One thing I wanted to ask you, and I asked you the other day, and I wasn't sure. Somebody had written that Alan could actually stand on the road and jump onto a roof of a car because he had super, super long legs. Is that true? Because I read a lot of crazy things about that
I've
thing.
never personally witnessed that, but some of the old pictures that I see where Alan does the jump and Freebird, I went, he looks like he's 6 foot high, he's like, so I've never actually, uh, when we first started touring, we were all in an Econoline van pulling a U-Haul trailer, and the band never saw snow, and I still remember when they pulled over and we were along the expressway and we pulled over where there was this this road where there was snow, and Alan just ran out of the van and everybody was trying to. Billy says, well, that's how it started. Billy said, I could climb that, So we pulled the bus over. It's okay, Billy, let's see. So Billy got about halfway up and the snow was too deep and he was trying to crawl up, and then somebody else tried it. And Alan got out of the van and those big old long legs just went up there like a spider monkey and climbed all the way to the top. I still remember that was funny, but I've never seen him jump on a car hood. I don't know. I don't know. There's a lot of stories that go around that people just say happened. I don't know.
Well, if anybody could do it, it was Alan. I mean, I don't recall how tall Alan was when I met him. I guess he was about 6'1" or 6'2". He wasn't super tall.
6'2" or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, he seemed really tall because he was so skinny. And to see him without shoes on and sitting in a chair, that was just so cool to me. I was like, wait a minute, he's not wearing any shoes. He's not holding a guitar, but that was really, really cool to see that. But yeah, a lot of fun. Heard a lot of things about Alan with cars and doing silly things. And, he was, somebody asked me a question last week about whether he shot a BB gun at me. No, he didn't. He didn't shoot me with a BB gun. I guess because he was at home in his own situation with his family. He was on very good behavior, but you would never have known that he was, he had the reputation from my experience at his home. But Craig, because you knew Alan very well. And you have a lot of
there's been many a times I was running from the door for the door of the studio when they quit rehearsing, and Alan reached around his hand and grabbed that BB gun, and everybody would take off for the door and try to get out the door at the same time before they got shot. Yeah.
Now, what was the thing about, I'm sorry, what was the thing about, you said that if somebody would ask him for money, he he would say something or
Oh, that yeah.
yeah.
I think I put that up there. He said, "But before you get $1 from me, you have to be stone blind and can't see. You'd have to pull a baby elephant up out of the gutter and look up a country cow's ass and tell the townfolk the price of butter, and then cut your hands off above your wrist and still wiggle your fingers just like this."
And then there, what I was telling
Oh
you
no, I
about.
missed that. You'd have to be stone blind and not see. You'd have to swim the Atlantic Ocean and not drown, and drink 6 buckets of cat piss and not frown, and then pull a baby up elephant out of the gutter and look up a country at cow's ass and tell the townfolk the price of butter, and then cut your hands off above your wrist and so you wiggle your fingers just like this. Sometimes I forget the lines.
Where did he get that? Did he make that up, or
He,
did he learn that in grammar school?
one of the questions I saw on Facebook, and I laughed so hard. Somebody said that, and then they erased it. I don't know why they erased it. I thought it was hilarious. Somebody, Bob Burns, I said, yeah, Bob Burns. They said, Bob Burns said, Alan, I think you look good with a mustache. Why don't you grow a mustache, And Alan thought about it, and he said, Bob, that hair grows wild. I don't think I'd let anything grow wild around my mouth that grows wild around my asshole.
I can picture him saying that now.
Oh yeah, that was funny. But
Can I ask you a question? How is Alan around fans? I mean, did fans get close to him when they were on tour? And what was his, was he friendly toward fans? Was he distant? What was that whole scenario like with fans and wannabe groupies and the
uh
whole groupie thing?
he was cordial toward fans, and because the fans are what make you so
Mhm.
yeah, but he wasn't fixated on stardom or whatever. And it's like somebody commented the other day that they didn't think that Ronnie cared much about money or fame, and I kind of chuckled, because he really wanted to be famous. Ronnie did, he liked that, that's why that's what when he saw Mick Jagger up on stage when he was younger, when he finally decided he didn't want to play baseball and he didn't want to play be a boxer or race car driver, and he went and saw Mick Jagger on stage. He goes, "That's what I want to do." so then so then he was like a tough guy, so he went to the local band and said, "Hey, I'm gonna be your singer." And then I guess that band sucked, so he quit or whatever. I don't know. I hear a lot of stories, but that kind of stuff what happened before I was there, so I can't stand here and say this is what happened, but it's funny stories. you know, but
So somebody asked a question about what it was just Alan like on stage as opposed to off stage, because you were friends with him, you hung around with him. I mean, did you ever feel, oh my God, I'm hanging around with a rock star? Or was he just like a normal guy? What was your feeling about, your friendship with Alan as
Alan
a
was the same all the
Mhm.
time. I mean, that's what people like ask about Ronnie. What was it like to be around Ronnie? It was like kind of like same thing as being around you. He was just some other guy. When we were out in the boat, it was kind of weird because I used to carry around a camera all the time and do the movie thing. But when me and Ronnie would go out fishing or something, and we were at home by ourselves, I didn't take movies or nothing. That would be one time I did, but it was all of us, Chad and all the kids and stuff. That it was a little more. But it was me and him. I never did. So always people go, "What did you talk about?" And I was like, same thing kind of thing I talk about was I was out in the boat with you,
Yeah.
just it wasn't you know, he was just a, you know, he was just somebody that could put words together and sing, but besides that, he was just a normal guy, you know. I mean, it's kind of weird once you know, your idea of what somebody is like, you know, you have this image of them, and then they go, what? Well, I wonder what he's really like, you know. A lot of times it's just that's what he's really like, you know, like Jack Nicholson, you know, he doesn't have to act. That's just the way he is,
I
you
agree.
know.
He
Yeah.
is.
I mean, that's just him. He's not acting. He's got an easy job. He just bees himself, you know. You know. But oh gosh, yeah. I think we're going right on. I think we started this. I'm not sure. About 5 after. So we're going on about 40 minutes, you know. So I don't know. We haven't talked about much though. uh but yeah, I don't know. Maybe we can get together and do another one of these. I don't well, you know, I've done this is a 28th one, you know, and people are just now finding out. They say that, man, I'm just now finding out that you're doing these, you know, and I need to catch up, you know. Well,
Yes.
this is the 29th one, you know, to watch 29 of these if they're, you know, an hour long, you're you know, you're gonna have to spend a lot of time. So, you know, me and Griff kind of tried to make them kind of short, you know, 20, 25 minutes, and then they kept getting longer and longer and longer, you know. But no, I really appreciate you doing this and being a co-host, and I hope we answered some people's questions. And you know, anytime you want to come on, and next time Griff takes a vacation, we'll have you come on and be my co-host.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I know a lot of questions came in, and I have questions myself that I think sometime, and you're really you know the answers because you've been there and you've been such a good friend of Alan's for such a long time. I have a question though about his sister. I know Alan has one sister, Betty. Is she, did you get to know her very well?
I didn't know. I know I met Betty a few times. Like it's like Gary's sister. I met her a few times, but not many. But my son Chad
Mhm.
knows Betty pretty well, I guess, because Betty kind of looks over Allison, Alan's daughter, Amy, Allison, and it's how Chad keeps in contact with Allison. And then when Chad started getting on fake book, you know, and he was on there trying to say, well, that he was listening to these stories people were telling it, and Chad would kind of go, that's kind of not the way I remember that happening. And they would go, who the hell are you? And you know,
Yeah.
so then Betty got on there and said, you know, that's Craig Reed's son, you know, and he was around, and they go, well, who the hell's Craig Reed? you know, so that was kind of funny. But yeah, I didn't hang around with Betty or none of that. And somebody asked me when Alan's mom and dad uh divorced, and he got remarried. When I met Alan, he was 21, I guess. And from what I understand, him and his dad and mom had divorced sometime before that. So I don't know. I guess I heard that Alan's mother bought him his first guitar, and whether they were divorced by then, I don't know. That was before my time, but I don't know how I got off on that one. But
Did you get to know Larkin very well?
oh God, yeah, me and Larkin, when Larkin managed the Rossington Collins band.
Oh, okay.
So I was kind of like the production manager for the Rossington Collins band. So I had an office. I had an office down where Larkin worked, and it was you know, the business office of Ross and Collins, and Larkin, he was their manager, but he didn't know anything about the equipment and how much, you know, and what it takes to put on a show as far as power, or how many stage hands you need, or how many trucks. He didn't knew nothing about that. So I had to be in there in the office with him, and kind of an 8 to 5 gig, and
You did
then after we would
everything.
close the office down, I would just hang around, and people would show up, and we would party. Yeah, it's
I
fun.
actually did call one time. I called, I saw the phone number and I called up, and Larkin answered. He was so nice. I said, "Hi, I'm calling from New Jersey." And he was just so nice. It was very, very nice, answered questions. And, it was really nice that he answered the phone. Um, yeah. I also wanted to ask you about the Strat, the black Strat that you had mentioned. So
Uh-huh.
I recall Alan using that Strat during Rossington Collins band, but I recall during the Lynyrd Skynyrd days, mostly the Explorer and the Firebird. So did he use this? What did he use the Strat for on the
Oh, he used it
Skynyrd days?
occasionally on some, and then he had that 55 or 56 Les Paul double cutaway that he put together. And I get confused sometimes about when guitars, yeah, I can't really, I get confused about those two. I don't know.
Do you know the whereabouts of any of Alan's original guitars?
I don't, I don't know where the Explorer is. It was up in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame,
Yeah,
but it's
that's what I
not there
figured.
anymore. The only thing that's up there is Bernice, Gary's guitar. I don't know. Amy might have it. I'm not sure. I heard a story about where it ended up, but I don't want to say because it might not be true. I don't
So
know.
when at the time of the plane crash, there were no instruments on the plane. The instruments and all the equipment went separate.
I don't really remember. Someone said Steve used to carry one around with him, and in his room and stuff, but somebody said they found a guitar at the crash site. I don't remember. I don't remember.
Mm.
I was drunk.
So what can you tell us about Alan? Any of the other, all of the what he was like and what he was like at home. Did he have a lot of people over all the time? What was I know that they had a rehearsal space in his home where they did a lot of rehearsals for Rossington Collins band.
That was back in the garage back behind his house. Yeah, the
Okay.
rehearsal place back there. He didn't have a lot of traffic in and out. There was Scott Campbell was really good friends with Alan, and Tal Carter, and those people were the ones that was hanging around him the most. Now Tal's dead, and Scott Campbell's still alive. I still talk to him. He's a real cool guy. But no, he didn't have a lot of riffraff, well, if you want to call it. Yeah, there wasn't a lot of people there. No. Um, no, he had a lot of friends. Me and him, I would take him places, to buy drugs. And I was supposed to drive him, and I'd get so messed up he'd end up driving without a license. Yeah,
Yeah.
I couldn't handle the amount of drugs he did.
And somebody had asked a question. Oh, Griff asked me last week if I would have gotten in a car with Alan Collins. No, because of the time that we went to his home and he passed us. We were leaving because he wasn't there and he was coming from the other direction. And this car was driving just at warp speed right past us. And I never, and then I said, "Oh my God, there's Alan," because his hair was flying out of the car and Regine recognized him, but I don't think I would have gotten in a car with him. He went through a lot of cars, I recall, but he had the Toronado. I think it was a 1980 Oldsmobile Burgundy Toronado in his driveway that he was driving when I went, and then he had Ronnie's old car, as I had mentioned in the garage, the old Mercedes. But he had some other vehicles too, so I know he loved vehicles and cars. And now you have one of Alan's Toronado.
Yeah, he had that burgundy Tornado, and I think he wrecked it. I think that was 80, and then he bought that 81 Tornado, and then he didn't have a driver's license, so I ended up driving him everywhere he went in that white Tornado, and my birthday came around, and he gave me that car for my birthday. It was an 81. It was brand new then. I mean, he drove it a little bit, but because he didn't have a driver's license, so I drove it, and we would go down to Miami and to the studio, and he'd have it. We just had we had the TV in there. We had it was funny, but he'd have his guitar in the front of the car, and he would be playing guitar in the front of the guitar in the car, and it ripped the upholstery on his side, the armrest, the kind of it kind of degraded it a little bit. Yeah.
Was he more of a fun person to be around, or more of a dangerous person to be around, do you think?
Both.
Hang around, yeah.
Oh, Alan was a character, man. He was really a character, yeah.
And we talked about how you and I had met actually years ago, right?
Oh,
Because I was,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, I guess I don't know. You have more of a remembrance than I do. You just kind of say that you were with a couple of male friends of yours. Yeah, you wouldn't have made a very good groupie.
No.
You don't smoke cigarettes. You don't smoke pot. You don't do drugs.
Nope.
You don't have any tattoos or piercings.
Nope.
You don't wear a lot of makeup.
No, not at all. I was a wannabe groupie. But
Yeah,
when push
yeah.
came to shove, I was like, no thanks.
Yeah, but
Because
I guess I tried to proposition you to get on the bus, but
yeah.
I kind of wouldn't remember that because it happened about twice a day. I was like, come on, get on the bus, baby. But yeah, you were smart enough. Yeah, you had morals and scruples, and you wouldn't have made a good groupie. Although you said you would have accepted if Alan would have asked you.
Oh, 100%. 100%.
Yeah, I guess one of the Allman Brothers group Roadies tried to get you on the bus too, and I don't want nothing to do with a roadie. I want Alan Collins.
Yeah, Rook Goldflies, and he's a friend of mine on Facebook. He was the one of the bassists for the Allman Brothers. Yeah, he invited me backstage, and then I kind of knew what he was looking for, and I was like, no, thanks. But my friends jumped backstage with me, all my guy friends that I was with, and they were, there was a lot of food and stuff backstage. Dickie Betts was there, and everybody was there. And my friends were like, oh my God, Dickie Betts' food. And they were, sticking their putting food in their pockets and stealing the grapes and the fruit. And they were so thrilled to be back there. And I'm like, let's get out of here. He said to me, do you want to meet me in New York? And I was like, no, that's okay. That's okay. But I'm just if it were Alan, that would have been a different story, but I never had that opportunity.
Oh, it's
But
just funny how we kind of met back then, and God, how many years ago has that been? My God.
That was in 1981. I actually was looking at my ticket stubs.
Yeah.
I went to the Capitol Theater to see with my friends to see Rossington Collins, and being a friend of Gene Odom, he hadn't put us on the list, so we went in the side door, and I was like, I'm a friend of Gene Odom's, I want to get backstage. And then I saw you. It had to have been you and another roadie, and you were like, hey baby, and I was feeling really uncomfortable. And the fact that I had two male friends with me didn't make any difference. And when I was talking to you last week, I was like, that had to have been you 100%, because that's just like something that But
Yeah.
yeah, Gene was so cool. Gene was so cool. You know, he was the one who got me to meet Alan Collins. And you know, I mentioned last week about the 6 degrees of separation. I believe in that. You know, you are six contacts or fewer with anybody in the universe. You can do it. Right now, I'm trying to contact Cameron Crowe because he has a great story. He was such a good writer for Rolling Stones, and I've heard him telling stories about his event, his you know, his ventures with the band and the whole hat incident in Tokyo with Ronnie's hat. He's such a great storyteller, and I've tried to message him through Facebook. So if anybody knows Cameron Crowe, I'm trying to reach you, Cameron, and that is my next
Yeah,
thing. I want to
really.
get you on this show because you're a great speaker and storyteller. We want to hear what you have to say. I'm a big fan of yours, Cameron Crowe. So, you know, let's get this going here. We want to get you on the show.
Yeah, Stoned Roadie the movie. Yeah.
Yes. So, Craig, I have to ask you a question. You know, the first time I talked to you, before I got to know how funny and amazing you are an anomaly. I know it's a fancy word, but you really are
Oh
because you are
God.
so cool. You know, I'm sorry about to say it. He's got a great voice. The accent is amazing. He's smart. He thinks he doesn't look smart, but you are smart. You are very smart, and you are, you know, you had a lot of responsibility with Lynyrd Skynyrd, and you pulled it off. So I'm a big fan of yours, and I'm so happy that we're getting to be friends.
Oh God, yeah, me too.
Yes.
Yeah. You're
But
you're
what was
quite
I
an
saying?
amazing person yourself. You're really
Oh,
cool, yeah.
thank you so much. But it's just so
But,
fun to
yeah, you're
talk.
showing your age though. That was 40 you we met 40 some years ago and you're so you don't look but 40 now, but you
I'm
had to be
61. Yay, 61. 61.
You
I
look
was born in
amazing for
61.
61.
Everybody from my high school graduating class is turning 61 this year. But you know what? I don't know. I try to stay out of the sun, whatever. But this is not about me. It's about you and Alan Collins. And this is a show about Alan Collins. But I think you're the coolest guy, and I'm so
Oh
glad that
God, thank you
you
so
know
much. You're just
I'm
saying all
really.
that because it's true too, you
It is true. The Stone
know?
Roadie. I never would have
That's
thought.
funny.
And you know what? The first time I talked to you, one of the things I said to you, and you know, I didn't even know you had the podcast. I was like, why didn't you write a book? And you said, but now I've been catching up on all the podcasts. I think I'm up to like 23. And you mentioned it. People ask you to write a book, but this is so much cooler. Just going on and having people ask questions and just hearing you talk. And it's just so much better than trying to read a book. I mean, you may do it at one point, but I can understand why you haven't. And I'm surprised somebody doesn't reach out and try to do a movie about your life and your experiences because you have a lot of stuff, cool stuff to tell. You know, a lot of the things you've done are things that I always thought I wanted to do, but when the push came to shove, there was no way I would have done it. I wasn't allowed to.
I was a little apprehensive in trying to
Yeah.
pull off a Stone Roadie show without Griff, because
Yeah.
he kind of thing keeps moving right along. But you've done the same thing here today when I'm kind of going, and then you just come up with something to talk about. It's really cool. Like about 20 minutes ago.
We're not professionals. I don't do this. This is not a thing for me. I'm not an interviewer. So if there are a little bit of pregnant pauses there or something,
You
please, you
do
know,
Zoom meetings with your pupils. She works with what do you call them?
I'm a teacher.
Special ed, yes, but more
Yeah,
it's like special ed stuff, yeah.
yeah.
And does Zoom meetings with them. It's real cool. I ask her what she talks to her students about. It's very interesting, that stuff she does. It's really cool. Plus, you're a supervisor for all those teachers or something of sorts, aren't you?
Yeah, well, I'm a teacher. I'm also a teacher of English as well. So, but I tutor kids and I go online and I do Zoom all the time, but never thought that I would be in the Stone Roadie show. I mean, a month ago, I didn't know that there was a Stone Roadie show, but this is, you know, like a dream come true
Oh, that's so
to
funny.
meet you and
No,
have so
people
much
say
fun.
I watched Danica Patrick the other day. She's a race car driver and she does a podcast now, and she says she talks about how she just enjoys doing a podcast. It's like,
Mhm.
I never ever dreamed that you know, I'd ever do something like a podcast or something, and I was always kind of amazed at how DJs use that monotone type of thing, you know, and I didn't think I could ever do that, and it turns out I kind of do it naturally or something. People say I got a good voice, but I guess I'd have to learn how to control it or whatever.
You have a perfect voice.
Oh,
Perfect
yeah,
voice.
that's funny, yeah.
I would think you would have been taking lessons on professional speaking, but
No, no, I guess I'm just a natural and never knew it.
so now we've talked a lot about Alan, and I know there are a lot of questions that have not been answered, but you know all the answers. But so what was the first thought in your head to do the Stone Roadie? I mean, whose suggestion was
Oh,
that?
I used to do a internet radio show. Uh, oh God, Karma Radio. It's an internet thing, and I go up there. Well, my friend Steve Jones, he's kind of came down with cancer in his throat, so now he's been a DJ his whole life, and he's kind of laid up right now. But yeah, I was going up there, and then my other friend Alistair Crowley and Maggie Fuller, who used to be on the WNIR, a talk radio show here in Akron, and they broke away and started doing an internet thing, you know. So they asked me to come up there, and I go, yeah, I'll come up there, you know, and do it, you know. So I'd go up there every year and do a October 20th thing, you know, and talk for
Mhm.
4 hours. I mean, sit there and talk. But me and Alistair, we get smashed, man. We drink a we drink a whole bottle of whiskey doing a radio show, man. You know, and I'm sitting there smoking pot and and drinking whiskey the whole time we're doing a radio show. We got smashed, man. I don't even remember what we talked about sometimes, but yeah, and then you know, so I kind of then that guy asked me to do a podcast, you know, and I said, well, what's involved with that? And he goes, well, you know, just get a microphone and a camera, and so you know, I got a mic and camera, and then he kind of faded out of the picture, and then I said, well, now I got a mic and a camera and the lights and all this stuff. Now what I do with it? And Griff said, well, you know, people have been asking me, you know, to ask you questions about, you know, ask you questions, you know, and you know, why don't you just let me get on there and you know, and we'll just field questions. I goes, yeah, we can do that. So that's kind of like how it got started. But
Mhm.
yeah, it's I don't know. Since then, I think I showed you I started out with the green screen, you know,
Mhm.
on with the little thing, and I don't know. It's just, you know, something I've never did, and I've just been curious about it, and I said, "Well, you know, what the hell? I'm not doing anything else. I'm retired, you know, I'm gonna just do it for a laugh or whatever." But it like I was saying before, I've just met the coolest people doing this. I mean,
Yes.
people
Yes.
are hearing about the Stone Roadie show, and they're watching it, and they go, "Oh, man, this is so cool, you know, keep doing it." And I'm going, yeah, to me, it's, you know, it's just talking about stuff, you know, but I guess stuff that I know is stuff people don't know. And I guess, you know, the things that I know about them is kind of curious. And like we were talking before, it's just so weird how people are kind of mesmerized
Mhm.
with that band. I mean, when we were talking before we went on, that guy Dave called, and he was, you know, and he just started talking. I said, and I was talking to him. I said, I'm talking to Kathy Godsey, and we're talking about a show, and he goes, oh yeah, she was talking about the first time she met Alan. That was so great. And then right away he went into talking about how he remembered exactly where he was when he got introduced to Lynyrd Skynyrd, and how it just changed his life, and that's all he could do is listen to and there's so many stories like that. It's just it's incredible. The you know like you know, just because you went to Alan's house. But oh God, that guy that called, oh, she actually went to Alan's house. Oh, that's so cool. You know, ask her what it
Yeah.
was like and stuff. And it's just like you mentioned before, all the tattoos that people. I mean, no other band or nobody has influenced people to get tattoos like Lynyrd Skynyrd. I mean, Freebird and Simple Man is on so many people's arms, and Ronnie's picture, and you know, a little bit maybe the Rolling Stones a little bit have tattoos, and Grateful Dead. I've seen a few, but
Yeah.
well, you know, nobody else. I mean, you know, I mean, you know, there's just, you know, even Elvis don't have that. You know, I mean, my God, you know, you can't think of another band where could
No.
even come close to the amount of people that have tattoos on them, you know. So it's got
Yeah.
to say something about, you know, the aura of Lynyrd Skynyrd, you know, and it's really odd, you know. Just like for me, I was a roadie, and now all of a sudden it's because I knew all those guys intimately, and I was friends of theirs, and I was on the plane crash, and you know, and I went fishing with Ronnie. You know, it's stuff that people kind of dream about, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, even in my everyday life, you know, I'll go to the dentist and stuff, and the dentists and everything are just they just amazed that I worked with Lynyrd Skynyrd. "Oh, I'd have loved it did what you did." Yeah, but you decided to stand around with your hands in somebody's mouth all day, you know? You know, I would much rather did what I did than stand around with my hands in my in somebody's mouth all day long. I mean,
Yeah,
you know,
right.
you know, they
Yeah.
made pretty good money, but what did it get them? They didn't they stood around all, you know, didn't really go anywhere or do anything, and now they're old, and now they can't.
And they're not getting more famous by the day for doing a podcast,
Oh
you know,
God, yeah.
so
I'm just beside my I'm actually starting to have fun with this. It's well, you know, when you get old like I am, you have to do something to keep your mind active,
you're
you
not
know.
old. You're not old.
And as you'll notice, I don't work with notes or nothing, you know. Before before we started, I goes, "You got anything to write notes on? You can remind me of stuff."
I
Yeah,
know that's what we were talking about.
me and Griff just kinda let it roll, but I think he takes some notes though, you know. But,
Well, I'm looking at the background. Now, you said people have been sending, I mean, I'm mesmerized by the gold albums behind you, but recently you've gotten a green screen, but I'm looking at those gold albums thinking,
well,
wow, what's
yeah,
the story
it's
behind that?
kind of funny. I kind of, you know, I kind of like the technology. Oh, look at me, I'm cool. I know, you know, I learned how to do green screen, you know. But you know, to me, looking at these gold albums, it's like I see them every day, you know, and it's like they don't mean that much to me, you know. And, you know, but for anybody else, they'll go, "Oh my God, look, he's got gold albums on his
Yeah.
wall," you know, and it's kind of more impressive than my Leonard Skinner background type with the crowd. But you know, I got the best of both worlds, I guess. No, but I've got so many gold albums. I could put you know, I could put up a couple. I could put up the whole wall of albums, but you know,
You
I
could.
got a couple dozen. I don't know.
I got a question, another Alan Collins question. Somebody asked, what was he generous? Like as a friend, was he generous to
Oh my
you?
God, yeah. Oh my
Yeah.
God, yeah. He give you well, this like I said that when he gave that guy the guitar, you know, the guy needed a guitar and Alan gave him his favorite guitar, but he was high when he did it. And then when he kind of regretted, you know, you've done that before, do something, well, you haven't because you don't drink, but most of us that drink have done something we regretted.
Yeah, no.
But yeah, and it was cool because but I had to call Billy and go, "Man, you know, he was really high when he gave that to me, and he's kind of regretting it now. You mind doing a trade? You know, but Billy, he just wanted a guitar. You know,
Yeah.
he didn't really. You know, he was glad to do it. You know, but
I wish
no,
I were there.
he gave me. It was cool. I mean, you know, it was like I felt like one of the Memphis Mafia, you know, Elvis's roadies, you know, Red and all those guys, you know, you hear about Elvis giving all those guys cars, you know. And God, Gary gave me a car. Gary gave me 2 cars.
Wow.
Yeah, gave me that Jeep and Alan's hot rod. That after we bought it off Alan's estate, and then you know, Alan gave me the coupe or the
Oh.
Tornado, and then Leon gave me a '65 um, Chevelle Malibu that I left at Tommy George's, and somehow one of Johnny's cousin was talking to Tommy George, and I left it down there. Oh my God, I don't know how many years ago, sitting in the field, and I guess they went and rescued it and pulled it out of the field and restored it. Yeah, the '65 Malibu, 4-door, power steering, power windows, tilt wheel, air conditioning. Yeah, it was a really cool car, but my buddy Ronnie Caruso, I got it off of Leon, and I met my buddy Ronnie drive it, and he was all high, and it blew a fan belt off, and he owned a golf course down there, and he forgot that he blew a fan belt, and he was high, and he left the golf course and drove it home without a fan belt on it, and it didn't do very good for the engine. So I kind of left it at Tommy's, and I thought I'd get it back someday, but then I moved up to Ohio, and it was just too hard to get it back here. But anyways,
So I got another question. You mentioned that Gary gave you 2 cars. So I was always a big fan of Gary's too. And I know this, we're talking about Alan, but Gary, when I went to Gene took us to the hotel room after one of the Rossington Collins concerts. He took us on the tour bus and he invited us to travel with them overnight. And regrettably, I said no thanks because I just I'm regretting it. I'm regretting it. But then would have had to have dealt with you, maybe, probably. We meet again.
yeah.
That's probably the second time we would have met. But yeah, we went up to the hotel room, and Gary was so nice. He was wearing these funny, goofy glasses, these like plastic eyeglasses, and they had springs hanging out with these eyes, and he was just so nice though. And I said to him, can you sign my hat? Because everybody was signing the hats. And he said, yeah, $5. And I said, not $5. He said, I'm only kidding. He was just so cool. They were just so cool. It was just so, I wish I could have taken pictures. I wish I had we had iPhones back then. I would have recorded it, but such good memories that he was really cool. I'm a big fan of Gary's. I would love Gary to come on the show. I would love it. I think a lot of people would like to see him on here.
Yeah, I don't think that's gonna happen.
Well, if he sees
But
this thing,
it'd be
Gary,
cool.
please come on, come on. We're big fans. Come on, I want to talk to you.
uh, oh
But
yeah.
yeah, but it's just having met him, and you were talking about how people are just mesmerized and will always remember the band. I was introduced to some friends 10 years ago, and my friend Anthony Anthony Whiteman. He said, I want you to introduce you to this guy. And he said, Kathy met Alan Collins. She was at Alan Collins's house. And the guy's like, oh my God, can I shake your hand? I mean, I loved him, but I didn't think it was something that people were going to think that I was anything because I'd been to his house. But it is true. It is true how there's something about him. There's something about that band that is just going to be here forever. They're immortalized into our spirits and our hearts and their music. I mean, I hear Sweet Alabama all the time. I go in grocery stores and all the time, but there's so much more than Sweet Alabama, Home Alabama. Their catalog is just amazing. I can never ever stop listening to Lynyrd Skynyrd, and I'll always zoom in on Alan's parts. He had something about him. Remember that we talked about the song, I've Been Your Fool? That's
Oh
such
my
a
God, I
great
love I've Been
song.
Your Fool. Yeah,
Yeah, do it. Do the little riff he does with the guitar because you do better than I. Come on, Craig's a singer, by the way. You were singing
I've
something
been your
stupid.
fool. I've been your fool. He does that yodel. Oh, ever since, baby, I met you.
Woo,
Ever
woo.
since I met you, baby, said you've been running around, spending all my hard-earned money on every old man in town. I've been your fool. I've been your fool. I've been your fool. Oh.
And I can't get
Oh,
that song on
God.
Apple, and I'm so upset because it's on one of my old records. It's not, it's not on any of the playlists, but that was a great one. And it just showed you Alan's how he had fun with, the way he played and his intonations and the guitar riffs and everything. It was not like anybody else. He was just he was amazing. But Craig sings too. Craig, I know this is about Alan Collins, but it's also about you, and you're a singer. You've been singing. You do a little Sinatra. He's a singer. I think you're a closet singer, Craig. I
Oh
think so.
God, yeah, that's funny.
You should end every
I
show.
like I like to sing at Pretty Women and crooning songs, Frank Sinatra.
We'll have to start closing the shows with that song, Something Stupid.
Yeah. Yeah, really. There I go with playing something stupid like I love you.
There you go. There you go.
So, but hey, darling, but yeah, let's do this again sometime. But yeah, we're running at about over an hour here, and like I said, I don't
Okay.
know it. I don't like to spend too much time on one. There's so many, my God, But yeah, we'll have to do next time Griff takes a vacation or whatever. But yeah, but next time I go down, yeah, we were talking about getting together. Next time I go down to Florida and run in with Chad, maybe with my son Chad still lives in Jacksonville, and Tanner, and we could get together with Gene. You and me and Gene and Griff could all get together down there someday.
I'm down. Let me know, and
That'd
I'll
great.
book
I'd
my
love to
airplane.
meet you in person sometime.
Yeah, yeah, and I'm
Yeah.
so thrilled that you invited me here. I mean, I'm nobody. I'm just a girl in New
Oh
Jersey,
my
but
God, I was thrilled
you
to have
know,
you on here.
and I'm not a professional.
It's so fun. It's
It
so fun
is.
because I'd like to have more fans just come on and tell the story about, but because it's so amusing
Mhm.
how everybody knows exactly ever since first time I saw Skinner, heard Skinner, all that, I just love this song. Everybody, like that guy Dave, he called, he knew exactly where he was when I was talking to you previously to this. He just knew exactly where he was when and everybody's got this story about Lynyrd Skynyrd that just it's just amazing. I don't know. But anyways, all right, Kathy, let's get out of here. Enough jibber jabber, and let
Yep,
me see.
jibber
So this
jabber.
is all right. Here we go. Okay, this has been the Stone Roadie Show number 29, and yeah, this has been the Stone Roadie Show number 29, and may the force be with you, and until next time, happy trails to you until we meet again. There we go. Cut.